The quiet anchor, discovering the strength of self-respect. Elara lived in a bustling town, a place where people moved with purpose, their lives seemingly woven with threads of success and confidence. From the outside, Elara appeared to fit right in. She was kind, always ready to help, and quick with a reassuring smile. Yet, beneath the surface, a quiet current of unease often pulled at her. She found herself constantly seeking approval, a quiet nod, or a kind word from others that might validate her existence. If a friend seemed distant, Elara would replay conversations, searching for a misstep. If a project at work faced a critique, she'd feel a deep sting, as if her entire worth was tied to that single outcome. The glow she tried to project often felt borrowed, its light dimming whenever external validation was absent. Elara often wondered why some people seemed to carry an inner calm, a quiet certainty that didn't waver with every gust of wind. She saw them politely decline requests without guilt, express their opinions without apology, and recover from setbacks with a quiet grace. She longed for that unshakable foundation, that sense of being truly at ease in her own skin, regardless of what the day might bring. It felt like a secret language, a hidden strength she hadn't yet learned. This internal longing, this subtle yearning for something more solid within herself, was the quiet beginning of her journey. It was a subtle whisper, prompting her to look inward, away from the constant clamor of external expectations, towards something more profound. Elara's first subtle step began when she noticed how often her energy felt depleted. She'd agreed to tasks at work when her plate was already overflowing, spent evenings helping friends move when she needed rest, and listened patiently to complaints from acquaintances long after her empathy had run dry. Each yes to another felt like a quiet no to herself. One evening, utterly exhausted after juggling too many demands, she sat in quiet reflection. She recalled a wise old gardener she once knew who spoke of unseen fences. He said that every garden, no matter how wild or beautiful, needed clear boundaries to protect its most precious plants from being trampled or overgrown. Without them, the garden would become chaotic and its beauty would be lost. Elara realized her own inner space was like that garden. She had no fences. She had allowed others to walk freely, sometimes carelessly, across her emotional landscape, leaving her feeling worn and scattered. The thought of setting boundaries felt daunting at first. What if people were upset? What if they thought she was selfish? Yet, a deeper understanding began to settle. Setting a boundary wasn't about pushing people away. It was about defining her own space, about understanding her own limits, and about honoring her finite energy. It was about valuing her time and peace as much as she valued others. Slowly, tentatively, she began to practice. A polite, "I can't take that on right now," a gentle, "I need some quiet time this evening." Each small step felt like a quiet act of self-preservation, defining the edges of her inner garden and allowing a sense of calm to begin to settle. As Elara began to protect her inner space with boundaries, another challenge emerged, speaking her true thoughts and feelings. She had always prided herself on being agreeable, on blending in. Often, she'd nod along to opinions she didn't share or stay silent when something genuinely bothered her, preferring peace to potential disagreement. This tendency, however, had a subtle cost. It felt like living behind a veil, where her authentic self remained hidden. Over time, this silent suppression began to chip away at her newfound sense of self-respect. It was as if she was telling herself, "Your thoughts don't matter as much." The shift began in small, everyday moments. During a casual discussion about a local issue, instead of simply agreeing, Elara found herself saying, "I actually see it a little differently." The words felt foreign on her tongue at first, a slight tremble in her voice. But to her surprise, the sky didn't fall. People listened, and even if they disagreed, the conversation continued respectfully. She learned that speaking her truth wasn't about being aggressive or dominating a conversation. It was about being honest, authentic, and clear about her own perspective. It was about expressing her needs calmly, rather than hoping others would magically intuit them. Each time she used her voice to genuinely express herself, whether it was to assert an opinion or communicate a personal need, a quiet sense of integrity settled within her. It was as if her inner and outer worlds were slowly aligning, making her feel more whole, more real. Elara's journey wasn't without its stumbles. There were days when old habits resurfaced, when she'd momentarily forget her boundaries or silence her voice out of fear. And inevitably, there were moments when she made mistakes, both big and small. In the past, these would send her spiraling into self-criticism, replaying every perceived flaw. But now, something was different. Through her budding self-respect, she began to observe these moments with a quieter gaze. She recalled conversations with friends who spoke of compassion, not just for others, but for oneself. How often, she wondered, had she offered kindness to a struggling friend, yet withheld it from herself? Elara started to treat her own internal struggles with the same gentle understanding. When she stumbled, instead of harsh judgment, a new question began to form. What can I learn from this? Or how can I be kind to myself in this moment? She began to see her imperfections not as personal failings, but as inherent parts of the human experience. Everyone had their own unseen scars, their moments of awkwardness or failure. Embracing imperfection meant acknowledging her humanity. It was about accepting that growth isn't a flawless ascent, but a winding path with inevitable bumps and detours. By offering herself the same warmth, understanding, and forgiveness she would extend to someone she cared deeply about, she began to heal the old wounds of self-doubt. This gentle, compassionate acceptance of her whole self became the sturdy foundation of her self-respect, allowing her to move forward with kindness and wisdom. As Elara's inner landscape began to transform, she realized that self-respect wasn't merely about grand declarations or overcoming major hurdles. It was also woven into the quiet, consistent fabric of her everyday life. She began to understand that truly honoring herself meant nurturing her well-being, much like tending to a delicate plant that needed regular sunlight and water. This wasn't about luxurious spa days, though those were lovely too, but about integrating small acts of self-care into her routine. She started to pay closer attention to her body's signals. The need for a quiet walk amidst nature when stress mounted, the wisdom of choosing nutritious food that truly fueled her, the discipline of ensuring enough restful sleep. She discovered the joy in moments of mindful presence, sipping a warm cup of tea without distraction, feeling the sun on her skin, or simply observing the intricate patterns of a leaf. She also learned to protect her mental and emotional energy. This meant occasionally stepping away from the endless stream of news, choosing uplifting conversations over draining ones, and allowing herself moments of complete stillness. These weren't selfish indulgences. They were vital acts of self-preservation. By consciously replenishing her own well, Elara found she had more to offer, more genuine kindness to share, and a stronger sense of calm that radiated outwards. These daily rituals, quiet and consistent, became the essential nourishment for her growing self-respect, reinforcing the quiet anchor within. With her self-respect firmly rooted, Elara noticed a beautiful shift in her interactions with the world around her. It was subtle at first, like the expanding ripples from stone dropped in a calm pond. Her relationships began to reflect the inner changes she had cultivated. Because she respected her own boundaries, others learned to respect them too, leading to clearer, more honest connections. Her ability to speak her truth, without aggression but with genuine conviction, allowed for deeper conversations and more authentic understanding. She found that when she valued her own voice, others listened more intently. She no longer felt the need to prove herself constantly, which paradoxically made her feel more respected by colleagues and friends. Elara also found herself more drawn to contributing to things that truly mattered to her, beyond personal gain. Her actions became less about seeking external praise and more about aligning with her deepest values. She felt a quiet confidence in her choices, a sense of purpose that flowed naturally from her inner peace. She discovered that self-respect wasn't an isolating experience. Rather, it was a foundation that allowed her to engage with the world more genuinely and effectively. The unshakable anchor within her wasn't just for her own stability. It allowed her to stand firm, to offer genuine support, and to contribute to the well-being of others from a place of abundance, not depletion. Her journey revealed that when one person truly honors their self-worth, it sends out quiet, positive ripples, influencing those around them and contributing to a more respectful and compassionate world. As days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, Elara noticed a profound shift. The constant need for external validation had begun to fade, replaced by a quiet, steady presence within her. The anxieties that once dictated her responses now felt like distant echoes. She found herself making choices that truly aligned with her own values, not just to please others. When faced with a difficult decision, she no longer felt tossed about by conflicting expectations. Instead, she could pause, listen to her own inner wisdom, and choose a path that felt authentic to her. Her intuition, once a faint whisper, had grown into a clear, guiding voice. This newfound strength isn't loud or demanding. It's a calm confidence, a quiet certainty. It allows her to give generously without depleting herself, to connect authentically without losing her own sense of self. She can face disagreements with composure, knowing her worth isn't diminished by a difference of opinion. She can navigate challenges with resilience, understanding that setbacks are just part of the journey, not a reflection of her inherent value. Elara has found her quiet anchor. It isn't a destination, but a way of living, a continuous practice of honoring her worth, protecting her space, speaking her truth, embracing her imperfections with compassion, and nurturing her well-being. This steadying force allows her to navigate the shifting currents of life with dignity and peace. Her respect for herself is the most valuable gift she cultivates, enabling her to truly live authentically and free.